What's up, everybody out there in computer land? It's Aftermath on the YouTubes. We've got myself, Nug Nargang. How are you? I'm fine. We've got former WWE referee Jimmy Corderas. We've got Kevin Mickey from Sportsnet.ca. And, of course, Larry the Cable Guy. All of us here today for Aftermath. And we've got our wins for the week that was. And coming out of Survivor Series, there were a lot of really good things. And, Jimmy, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed Survivor Series, but I really enjoyed the lead up to Survivor Series. You know, going back to Friday's SmackDown, the contract signing, I was very curious going in. I was a little bit hesitant because in the past, contract signings don't normally go well. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But I thought on Friday, they did a hell of a job of getting me invested in this match at Survivor Series, which actually lived up to its billing. And we'll probably talk about that later. But in this contract signing, I felt like I was sitting in, listening in, eavesdropping on a conversation that, I was, honored to be privy to, if that makes any kind of sense. It felt natural, it felt real, and it wasn't the usual, well, when I get you in there, brother, and you know what I mean? It just felt like a nice casual conversation. There were no microphones where everybody's yelling into a microphone. It felt really good, and it was, I thought, the perfect lead up into Sunday's match.
Yeah, I hope they can keep that up when there's a live audience again, because I really love this conversation level tone or volume, I should say.
When I think about that contract signing on Friday, it reminded me of the Andre Hogan contract signing because they were just in a room. They weren't in the ring, and it was just a conversation. Heenan did all the talking for Andre, but it was just a conversation. That's what it's negotiations to me. It's not flip a table, fight, yell at each other in front of 30,000 people. It's a simple pen to paper thing, but you want to say your piece. And I really enjoyed that it was a simple conversation that we got to overhear.
And hasn't that been the beauty of the Thunderdome, is the fact that, or making the best out of a bad situation, is the fact that with no fans, let's experiment with what we can do very well in these circumstances. And what can we do well? Well, we can let the talent have conversations in the ring, and these conversations, it's almost like Jimmy mentioned, you're privy to them. You should feel honored for listening. You can be the fly on the wall listening to these two dudes or women really discuss their angst and how much they hate each other without going over the top, brother, Jimmy.
Yeah, and if one guy has really excelled in this situation, hats off, Roman Reigns.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it feels like kind of like along the lines of a television show or a movie, because it's less theatrical because you don't have to overpower the audience. It was great. I just loved the whole contract signing. Anticipating is there going to be violence? I mean, there wasn't. It was great. That was different, you know?
Yeah, because you want to save that for the actual match. I don't want to see them fight before they fight. I want to see them fight when the time is right.
I actually wouldn't mind them seeing them, moving forward, going over some points of negotiation. Like, we're going to do this, this is this, and this is not going to happen after, and just kind of negotiate like a real business person.
It would have been perfect for Roman to be that person with all the particulars. I want this, and I want this. Well, we had a great contract signing, and this leads into Anthony's win. A great match.
Absolutely. I just kept imagining a 9-year-old somewhere watching this and having a life-changing experience. This was Hogan versus, I pick anybody. This was a massive match. This was a WrestleMania main event caliber match. And what they did is they didn't rush into the match. They got into the ring. They stood across. I wish Drew had somebody accompanying him. I wish most guys had either a corner man or a manager or just a friend that's there holding your water bottle and towel. They do it a lot in Japan, and I really like that. But it kind of adds to that authenticity of an actual sporting event. In a boxing match, nobody goes out by themselves. They always have cornerman, coaches, etc. Cut man. Anyway, they could have stood across the ring for 20 minutes, and I would have been happy. The stare down, and then they really did a great job at showing that they're equal. And two big hosses, and even the match, a little bit back and forth. And the message I left with was that on a level playing field, Drew McIntyre could have won that match. And then Roman Reigns cheated. He won, but he had to cheat to do so. I'm good with that too. It doesn't mean he's the man because he cheated. we'd like to think that Drew McIntyre would have been the man if it was fair, but hopefully we're left with something to see this maybe revisited later on a grander stage, hopefully with people in the audience. I thought that it was a great match considering there were no people, but if there were people in the audience, that was a life-changing moment for some kids out there for sure.
Yeah,
Anthony, there's nails all across the board here, and you just hit every single nail on the head with how great that match was in every regard. I love the fact that it took them a while to get into it. The fever pitch that they wrestled into was fantastic. The back and forth affair, making it seem like no one had the distinct advantage, was fantastic on my end. Both of these guys, these are the top dudes here. There's no question about it. Who's the top dude? Well, you got Roman Reigns, you got Drew McIntyre, and they're the top dudes on their shows. And man, was it evident in that match. It was so good in every regard. And it leaves you wanting more. And I feel like now they're not going to be able to wrestle each other for a while. They're on opposite shows, which is great, because now we can put this away for a second, and then we can revisit it several months down the road. Maybe
Absolutely.
WrestleMania. Maybe this is a WrestleMania main event.
Yeah, I tell you, I really enjoyed the fact that this started off slowly and build and build and build, and you were anticipating what's coming next. And not only that, it was amazing how every move as the match progressed got more intense and meant something, as opposed to this current style where some, I hate to go on a rant here again, but where some participants think that the more you do, the better it is. It's not the more you do, it's what you do and how you present it. And this match told one heck of a story. And even in a loss, Drew lost nothing in this. So there's that old theory, you could still get over without going over.
There's the whole thing about champion versus champion, especially at this Survivor Series, the way it's been for the last few years, where no titles are on the line and none of this really means anything. It's just for bragging rights. Well, they're both very even in this match. They're both the top of their show, and you saw why. And the only reason one guy came out on top was because he cheated. As far as putting things away, I would really like to put away all the talk of, oh, it's too bad there weren't fans there. There's no fans anywhere. It's been 250 some days. That's the way it is right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, we can probably move on and talk about other things. I gotta say, a great wrestling match in the main event, but also a great wrestling match for me was my win in Survivor Series, which was the tag teams, the New Day and the Street Profits, both the top tag teams of their show. And as we may talk about later on, maybe the only tag teams on their shows. But that match was fantastic. There were tag team wrestlers all over Twitter from all sorts of different areas that were just like, thank you for that match. Thank you. That was tag team wrestling. It was fantastic. And we talked about how the New Day kind of turned into jerks and maybe bad guys a little bit in that match. But the Street Profits were on top of their game. The New Day were classic New Day. They pulled out all the stops. Everybody on commentary, I think at this point we all know Xavier Woods is the secret greatest wrestler going right now. That guy can do anything. He's tightrope walking elbows. He's flying through the air. He's do power moves. He could do it all. And everything the New Day threw at the Street Profits, working Montez's abs the whole match. Smart move considering the frog splash is their finish. It all worked. That match clicked for me on every level, and the Street Profits pulled it out. But man, oh man, both teams looked fantastic.
No, they absolutely did. And that was a challenge going in, because you look at both teams and you're thinking in a normal match, I want to cheer for one side and boo the other side. And you were kind of torn going into this one. And like you said, the New Day acted a little bit like jerks. So you started, kind of swaying a little bit, going, hey, you know what? They're getting a little overconfident. I want to maybe see them get their comeuppance from this. But it was a good story being told with the old veterans, with the upstart young guys. And I thought both teams gelled really well together.
Yeah, I wondered if it was symbolically almost a passing of the guard, of the torch, so to speak, because again, one team are veterans, and it's hard to believe that they're veterans because they're still young guys. But the Street Profits, it was a huge win for them. When you're the entertaining team, and they have a comedic element to it too, to them as well. To have that tough side, that durability side, that we can overcome side, because when you're the entertaining guys, sometimes victories look like flukes or chance, luck, but they earned every ounce of this match, and I thought it was amazing.
Since the Street Profits were called up just over a year ago now, I've been waiting for that sort of signature match from Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. I feel like they had a lot of really good matches in NXT, a couple signature ones. I picture the ladder match that they won to win the NXT Tag Team Championships. I don't think that they had a signature or standout or breakout match in WWE since their arrival just over a year ago. Well, I think we can chalk this one up to being pretty damn good, because that was a signature breakout match from the Street Profits. Shout out to the New Day as well, the veterans, those super old dudes. I'm not sure they're going to make it through the next Monday Night Raw, but man, they were fantastic. The Street Profits were fantastic, both of them. That is some sweet, sweet tag team wrestling.
Yeah, it's and it's not something we see a lot of, so I'm glad we got to see it at Survivor Series. But Kevin, your win comes from this past week's NXT.
That's right. Survivor Series, I enjoyed pretty much all of it. A lot of it, I'm sure we can touch on some things that maybe we didn't enjoy later. But for now, I'm going to go back to NXT because one of my favorite things in professional wrestling is the Undisputed Era, and folks, they're back. And they're taking on the brand, let's call them that, or the Kings, whatever you want to call it, just Pat McAfee's boys. And it looks like we're going to have a collision course at War Games, and man, am I looking forward to that, because every time Undisputed Era have showed up at War Games, they have put on a show. Any big pay-per-view takeover event, they have put on a show, and I'm just looking forward to William Regal saying, War Games. It's going to be spectacular when we get that announcement.
War Games!
Yeah, matchups are really important. You can have an awesome wrestlers, but if they're not a good matchup, it's tough to have a really good match. But that looks like it's going to be an incredible matchup when you look at the participants on both sides. You can go any which way, really. I'm a big fan of Pete Dunne, so I want to see him kind of match up with everybody, really, on the Undisputed side.
No, this looks like a really good matchup. And you talk about talking people into the building. Obviously, you can't talk them into the building, but you can talk them into purchasing the pay-per-view or tuning into the network to watch it. And Pat McAfee and Adam Cole, just those two guys, I can't wait to hear the back and forth that's going to go on between those two. I think it's going to be awesome.
I can't wait. It's one of the rare instances where somebody is, in all of wrestling, is making me hate them so much just by opening their mouth. And I cannot wait to see Pat McAfee's face get smashed into a cage. I am just waiting for that moment. Someone's going to kick his head off. It's going to go over the cage. It's going to be fantastic. Punting for sure. Yes, a punt. Guys, those are our wins for this week in WWE. What were yours? Let us know on the Twitter. Get a hold of us with the hashtag #AskAftermath. Also, we're going to do some Christmas lists of our favorite male and female superstars and a whole bunch more, and send those to us or your questions using the hashtag #AskAftermath, and make sure to tag Jimmy Corderas in them because he's in charge of filing away all the questions. But stay tuned. We've got our fails coming up, plus we're going to talk about Mount Rushmores of wrestling. Ours are wildly different, I'm sure. So stick around. We'll be back with more right here on the Aftermath YouTubes.